The scream cut through the apartment like an alarm. I dropped my mug and ran, my heart slamming against my chest, certain something terrible had happened. What I found instead was my new roommate clinging to the ceiling, 4 limbs spread wide, eyes locked on something crouched in the middle of the living room floor. His name was Rylan Vex, an exchange student from a planet called Corvain, and he had only moved in the day before. He was brilliant, calm, and always spoke like he was reading from a report. None of that calm was left in him now. "Maya," he said, his voice shaking through the translator device on his collar, "there is a predator in this room." I looked at the floor. Sitting there, tail curled neatly around its paws, was my orange cat, Bramble. He blinked once, slow and lazy, then let out a small, unimpressed meow. "That's my cat," I said. "It has blades on its feet," Rylan said, refusing to move from the ceiling. "It has been watching me without blinking. On my world, that means it is preparing to strike." I almost laughed, but the fear on his face was real, so I kept my voice gentle. "He's not preparing anything. He probably wants food." Rylan's grip on the ceiling tightened. He had lived his whole life on a planet where creatures with forward-facing eyes and silent movement were the reason people did not walk alone at night. To him, my cat was not cute. My cat was a walking warning sign. "Explain," he said, "why a hunting animal is allowed inside your home. Explain why it is allowed near you while you sleep." I sat down slowly on the couch, keeping my movements calm so I wouldn't spook him further. "We call them pets," I said. "We raise them so they never need to hunt. We feed them, we care for them, and in return, they trust us. Bramble has never hurt anyone. He just likes attention and naps." Rylan stared at me like I had said something impossible. Then, carefully, he lowered himself from the ceiling, 1 limb at a time, never taking his eyes off Bramble. "You are certain," he said, "that this creature will not attack me?" "I'm certain," I said. "Just don't corner him, or step on his tail." He crouched low, several feet away, studying Bramble, the way a scientist studies a strange new specimen. Bramble, completely unaware of the intense attention, stretched, yawned, and flopped onto his side, showing his belly to the room. Rylan froze. "It has exposed its most vulnerable area," he whispered. "On my world, no creature capable of harm would ever do that in front of a stranger. This is either a trap or he trusts you," I said. "That's what it means when a cat shows you his belly. It means he feels safe." For a long moment, Rylan didn't move. Then, slowly, carefully, he reached out one clawed hand and touched Bramble's fur. Bramble immediately began to purr, a low rumbling sound that filled the quiet room. Rylan jumped back so fast he nearly knocked over a lamp. "It is vibrating." "He's happy," I said, trying not to laugh. "That's called purring. It means he likes you." "This creature," Rylan said, staring at his own hand like it might have changed, "was built to kill quietly and strike without warning. And your species convinced it to make that sound instead. You convinced it to feel safe with you." "I guess we did," I said. That was only the beginning of a very long night. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed with a message from my friend Noah, who lived 2 floors below us. He said there was a strange humming sound coming from the building's east wing, near the old storage room nobody used. I didn't think much of it until the lights in our apartment flickered, once, then twice, then went completely dark. Rylan's eyes glowed faintly in the dark, a trait of his species that let them see without light. "Something is interfering with the power system," he said. "This is not a normal outage." We stepped into the hallway together. The building was silent except for a low hum vibrating through the walls, the kind of sound that made your teeth ache. Doors along the corridor stood open, but no one was inside any of the apartments. It was as if everyone had simply vanished mid-motion, leaving cups on tables and shoes by the doors. "This is wrong," Rylan said, his voice tight. "I feel a pull, like something is calling my mind toward the storage room. I felt it too, a strange itch behind my eyes, like a whisper trying to become a thought. We moved carefully down the stairwell, Bramble following close behind us, refusing to be left alone in the dark apartment. At the bottom of the stairs, we found Noah standing frozen in the hallway, staring at the storage room door like he couldn't look away. "Noah," I said, shaking his shoulder. He blinked slowly, as if waking from a deep sleep. "There's a light in there," he said. "It's beautiful. It wants us to come closer." Ryland stepped in front of him, blocking his view of the door. "Do not look at it again," he said firmly. "That is not light. That is a signal designed to control your mind." I felt the pull grow stronger the closer we got, a soft golden glow leaking from beneath the storage room door, promising warmth and comfort if only we would step inside. My hand reached for the doorknob before I even realized I was moving. Bramble suddenly darted forward, hissing sharply, and swiped his paw across my ankle. The sudden sting snapped me out of the trance instantly. "Ow," I said, more startled than hurt, but grateful for the sudden clarity. "Your creature," Ryland said, watching Bramble with something like admiration, "just saved you from walking directly into danger." We backed away from the door, keeping Noah between us so he couldn't wander toward the glow again. Ryland explained, in quick and urgent words, that his people had encountered signals like this before, remnants of an old machine built by a long-extinct civilization, designed to draw living minds toward it and drain their energy. If the signal had reached full power, everyone in the building could have been trapped in a permanent trance, unable to move or think for themselves. "We need to shut down the power to this entire section," Ryland said. "If the machine loses its energy source, the pull will stop." We found the main breaker panel at the end of the hallway, hidden behind a locked metal grate. Ryland pried it open with surprising strength, his claws working faster than my fingers ever could. Inside, wires glowed faintly with the same golden light as the storage room, pulsing like something alive. "This is worse than I thought," Ryland said. "The machine has already connected itself to the building's power grid. If we cut it now, it might release a burst of energy strong enough to affect all of us at once." "So what do we do?" I asked, my voice tight with panic. Ryland thought for a moment, his eyes darting between the wires and the storage room door. "We need to disconnect the wires one at a time, starting with the one furthest from the source. If we do it correctly, the machine will lose power slowly, instead of all at once." I held my phone light steady, while Ryland worked, his hands moving with careful precision, despite the tension in the room. Noah stood behind us, still dazed but slowly coming back to himself with each passing second. Bramble sat close to my feet, tail flicking, eyes fixed on the storage room door like he was standing guard. One wire disconnected. The humming grew quieter. A second wire came loose. The golden glow beneath the door dimmed. As Ryland reached for the third wire, the storage room door creaked open on its own, and the golden light spilled fully into the hallway, brighter than before. A wave of pressure hit us, like the air itself had turned heavy, pressing against our skulls. "Now," Ryland shouted. "Pull it now." I grabbed the final wire and yanked it free with both hands. The light vanished instantly, plunging the hallway into darkness before the regular lights flickered back on, one by one, down the corridor. The humming stopped completely. Noah blinked hard, shaking his head as if clearing water from his ears. "What just happened?" he asked, confusion written across his face. "You were caught in something dangerous," I said, helping him steady himself against the wall. "But it's over now." Ryland closed the breaker panel and let out a long breath, the first sign of relief I had seen from him since the outage began. "That was closer than I would have liked," he admitted. "If your creature had not warned you at the door, we might not have reacted in time." I looked down at Bramble, who was now calmly grooming his paw as if nothing unusual had happened at all. "He really did save us," I said. "On my world, we fear creatures like him," Ryland said, watching Bramble with a new kind of respect. But tonight, I understand something different. Your world took something built to sense danger and made it loyal enough to protect you without ever being asked. We walked back upstairs together, the building slowly returning to its normal quiet hum of daily life. People began stepping out of their apartments, confused but unharmed, unaware of how close they had come to losing themselves completely. Back in our apartment, Rylan sat on the couch, still processing everything that had happened. Bramble jumped up beside him without hesitation and curled into a ball against his side, purring softly. Rylan looked down at him, then up at me, a small smile forming on his face for the first time since he had arrived. "I think," he said, "I finally understand why you call them pets." I smiled back, settling into the chair across from him, as the last of the tension finally left my shoulders. "Welcome to Earth," I said. "It gets stranger from here."